Welcome. My name is Manny Sarmiento. I'm the President and CEO of the Doral Chamber of Commerce. I want to welcome you to the second show we've done today. We were with Miami's Community Newspaper this morning. We're grateful for them. But today we have a very special guest. Our guest is Elena Ortega-Tauler. She is Legacy Trust Counsel. We have some very interesting topics. I had to write them down because there's a lot of information we're going to cover today. I want to welcome everyone that's on Zoom and Facebook Live. So welcome. So Elena,
yes,
tell us about you, how you got started, and what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, sure. First thing I want to say for the people that this is the first time that we're doing this live on Facebook, and I want to thank Manny. I don't think I could have done it without.
Won't be the last time. We're going to do more of this.
Of course, but a lot of people have been asking us to give more information, and I think this is a way to reach more people that perhaps need to know this information. So we're also, by the way, some people signed up to be on Zoom. So we want to welcome you, those of you that are on Zoom right now. So this is amazing. We're streaming through Zoom and also Facebook Live right now. So welcome everyone. And also I want to tell you that you can ask your own questions by posting them on Facebook and also on the chat on Zoom. If you're on Zoom, you can post them by going to the chat box and just posting your questions there. We're also going to be putting links on the chat so that you can follow up and request more information, request a consultation, and you can also fill out a document that we call the purple worksheet. We call it purple because that's the color in our office that document is, but there is where you put your information so that you can ask questions about your own specific situation and things that are concerning you right now, and you can ask us for more information. And for those of you on Facebook right now, then you can also write on the comments that you would like more information, or I think that we're also going to be putting a link for that document so that they can receive that document. You can also put in your email. You can put your email and we will make sure to follow up with you and give you the information you need. Okay, Manny, so I'm ready.
Well, good. I thought you said you'd be nervous. Doesn't look like you're nervous. I'm nervous, okay? This isn't easy, okay? But we're going to be going eventually on LinkedIn Live, not with this show, but in the future, LinkedIn Live, YouTube Live. We've got our studio set up here at the Doral Chamber of Commerce, and we're inviting our chamber members to come in because this information is really important. One of the things that I challenged Elena with was estate planning. Okay, we all tend to think that we know what estate planning is, but do we really know? And do we know the importance of it? So hopefully today,
yes,
in the Q&A style, we can discover and help others.
Sure. And also, please be interactive. Comment, let us know that you're watching. And we also have Raquel, my assistant here, and she is going to be letting me know if there are any questions that we need to address. So post your questions and your comments, please. We love to have that energy with you, that you're interactive.
So much. We have two editors, two producers today.
Oh, that's right.
We have Gabriela Sabroso is our editor here for the Doral Chamber. She's using through our Switcher studio.
Thank you, Gabriela.
And of course, Raquel. So thank you, Gabby. Thank you, Raquel. So question number one is...
So what is estate planning?
Yeah, what is estate planning? Yes.
Exactly. So a lot of people, when I ask, and I ask you right now, what do you think is estate planning? And I'll tell you that most people have not done estate planning, and especially have not done it right. So about 70% of the people have not done any estate planning, and the people that have, we come across that it's only a document here or there. It's not a complete estate plan. It is perhaps a document, a piece of estate planning. So what is estate planning? A lot of people say it's a will. And when they come into my office, sometimes they'll say, well, I already did estate planning. I just want to make sure that still I have some changes or it still works. And when I look at it, they have a will. Perhaps they have healthcare directives, medical power of attorneys or financial power of attorneys, but that's not a complete estate plan, okay?
Okay, so in layman's terms, if I have a bunch of money and I pass away, what happens to my money? and
Okay.
where would estate planning come into that situation? And number two is health wise.
Okay.
If I end up in a hospital and serious situations, hopefully not.
I love it, Manny, because you sound just like
We want to talk
a lot of my clients.
Yeah, we want to
do.
talk layman's, or now
Yeah.
we have to be PC correct, layman or laywoman's terms,
Yeah.
so that we can
yeah.
determine.
So here's the thing:
Laypersons.
the people, the most people have not done any estate planning, and the people, like I said, that think they have, only perhaps have part of an estate plan. So some people say a will. I have a will, so I have an estate plan. Well, that's just a part of it, because a will, all it says, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, all it says is who gets what of my assets. It gives the court a guidance, but it doesn't give any specifics as to when that person is to get it. It could say it, but it could be a waste, because the judge is not necessarily going to do that. For example, if you say you want your 18-year-old, or when he turns 18, to receive the assets that you're leaving him, but you say only on the condition that he goes to college, or only on the condition that he starts a business, well, he turns 18 and the court is just going to give him the money. That he may not be ready to receive that money.
Yeah, to control that.
When I say 18, sometimes even 25 or 30, you want to make sure that, you're protecting your loved one by asset protection, by, some conditions attached to it, some planning. So that's what I mean about, that it's just a will is not going to do it all. It's a step perhaps in the right direction, but we're also going to be talking about something that is called a trust. And then we're also going to be talking about the difference between a trust and a will. And Manny, you were saying, if I have a bunch of money, which I didn't know, I'm going to keep that in mind. But so Manny, if you don't have to have a bunch of money actually to have a trust. Trust?
Those are the things I want to clarify today.
Right.
Exactly the things. And what happens if I don't have a will?
Yes. Well, you know what the interesting thing is? This is probably going to blow your mind. Whether you have a will or not, you end up in the same place.
Really?
You end up before a judge in a probate court.
You hear a lot about the state taking a big chunk of money if you don't have a will, because you have to go through probate and all that.
No. If you have a will, and this is one of the things that we're going to clarify a little bit later, and it's a big misconception. If you have a will, you're going to go to probate court. In fact, the definition of probate court is the proving of the will. That's why you have to notarize it, have witnesses, all of that is because you want to make the proving of your will easier, right? For your estate. So what is a will? Well, I have a definition also. It's kind of funny. I didn't come up with it, but it is true. So the definition is a will is a lawsuit that you file, your estate does, with your own money, with your estate's money, against yourself, against your estate, for the benefit of your creditors.
Okay.
They're the creditors are the first ones to be able to file their claims, and the whole process is delayed. In fact, I don't know, Raquel, if we can put that slide that is a depiction of the probate process, and it looks like a broken pipe.
And if you're not watching on Facebook Live after this, because we will be expanding this to we will be putting it on LinkedIn, YouTube possibly, and some other platforms. I will put that slide in this section before it comes up. So you may not be seeing it now.
And you can also request the recording, and we will send that to you.
Perfect.
But anyway, yes. So a bunch of fees, attorney's fees, filing fees, bond premiums, appraisals, a bunch of stuff gets taken out of your estate.
Sounds complicated.
Right? Exactly. And it takes a long time. Typically, it could take a year and more. So meanwhile, your loved ones are waiting. And not only that, but guess what? It's public. So your family's business, your loved ones' contact information, are put there for anyone, predators.
So you get a bunch of probate attorneys to call you right now.
Well, and worst, I have to say. I
call them the trolls, the ones that are not necessarily have your good intentions in mind. Your good. You're good.
And you know, Manny, the worst thing is a young person that inherits money. That there are people already knowing, hey, this unknowing, innocent person is going to be receiving a bunch of money. So they want to sell them something. So we call those predators.
Yeah. Well, I call them trolls. We were talking about ADA.
Yes.
Yes. ADA trolls. So there's a situation that happened. I think you explained it. Now, what happened to Kobe Bryant?
Okay, so Kobe Bryant, I'm so glad you're like ahead of me here. Kobe Bryant, I was going to talk about that because Kobe Bryant, well, let me back up before I talk about Kobe Bryant. And I loved Kobe Bryant, such a talented, athlete and wonderful family and everything else. And unfortunately, obviously, he passed away with his daughter in a helicopter accident. What happened to him is something that I said, well, he had a trust. He had documents. He had done planning. But he did what many people do. They set it and forget it. Years go by. So his daughter, the youngest one, was born after the trust was created. So meanwhile, his widow, while grieving the loss of her husband and her child, she had to go into probate court to update the trust and add the daughter as a beneficiary. And I believe it is still, in a probate case. Wow. So that's what I call set it and forget it. Because when you create an estate plan, it is a dynamic set of documents. You may want to change it because the law may change. Your situation may change. If you go through a divorce, and I have a story that I can tell you about that as well, as an example. But talking about the Kobe Bryant situation, when you have documents that you put in place, like a trust, that trust, in our office, we review them every 3 years for free for our clients, by the way. Things change. So that's one of the things that happen here. And we want to make sure that if you do have a plan in place, don't leave it on the shelf, review it. If it's been more than, 2 or 3 years, contact an attorney or the attorney who prepared them for you and review those documents.
So I'm not absolutely sure if, and I'm one of these laypersons that needs to know this. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad you're here because I do want it explained to me. So you were talking about the difference between a trust and a will.
Yeah. Okay, so let me explain. So a complete estate plan deals with your disability in case you become incapacitated. What if you end up in the hospital? Who's going to make those medical decisions for you? Who's going to make the financial decisions for you? So that is something that we put in our trust planning, and it's a revocable living trust. And that is the centerpiece of the estate plan. In addition to that, we put in place other documents that I'll discuss in a minute. But when you do that, Manny, you also have to fund the trust. And what that means, it sounds very complicated. It's really not. It's that whatever property you own, whether it's an apartment, a house, a bank account, you want to have those retitled to the name of your trust. Now, a trust is an agreement. That's all it is, really. I have a slide too that I don't know if Raquel can get to, that is a picture of a treasure chest. And imagine your trust being your treasure chest. Everything goes in there, bank accounts, your house, title. If you have a business, also you want to make sure that it's funded to the trust. And this is something that a lot of people forget. And I know you deal with a lot of businesses, Manny. Mm-hmm. Well, how many of them have funded their trust with their business interest?
Maybe later on, we don't have time in this show to do it, but succession planning.
Oh yeah, we do.
When you have
we
partners
do succession
and family that owns businesses.
Yes.
I've heard a lot of issues with that. So maybe in a later.
No, absolutely, and that is one. Actually, I'm speaking at Ozark Bank. We're having a presentation of wonderful people over there in Ozark Bank, and they invited me to speak to business owners about succession planning. Great, so we will put the link so that
that's Bank OZK. That's right down down the street?
OCK. I call it Ozark, but it's OCK.
It used to be Bank of the Ozarks.
Oh, okay.
So
OCK,
when they moved to Miami, most people don't know what Ozark is.
Okay.
So they changed it to Bank OZK.
OCK. Well, anyway, we because we do have the business background, we're able to look at not just for business succession, but you may have a business and not know if you have the right documents, if all your documents, your structure is correct. We review that and we can also do that for you. But talking about the trust for a minute, so when you have your assets titled to the trust, it's like you're putting all your toys, like in your little red wagon when you were a child, and you would pull that little red wagon. Well, if any toys fell outside of the wagon, then you could lose them, or another kid could take them. Well, the same way, it could end up in the Florida Department of Unclaimed Property. The amount right now in the Florida Department of Unclaimed Property is about $2 billion. $2 billion. That's a lot of money. And that's because people didn't track their property correctly. They did not title their property correctly. The family doesn't know where it is. So I have a tip, actually, for you and for all of you. And the tip is, any state that you've lived in, Google that state. Florida makes it really easy. The Florida Department of Unclaimed Property, you Google it, you go in there, you put your name in, and it'll tell you. We've been able to recover thousands of dollars for...
I checked my name, I have nothing there.
For other people. But any state that you've lived in, you could have something in there. But anyway, we want to make sure that nothing, and we leave no stones unturned to make sure that your assets are inventory correctly and that they're titled correctly into your trust. So that's what funding the trust means, which is what happened to Kobe Bryant. You were asking about that. Yeah. Why? Because he did not update the trust to add his daughter's name.
Okay,
not exactly funding, but updating.
In the notes, we had some questions about the children. What does estate planning look like for people who have minor children? How is estate planning? How does it affect it when you pass away and there's children involved?
Yes, and I have a story I called my date night story. It's when I came to the realization that those of you that know me know that I have 5 kids, and then I ended up adopting another one, now 22 years old. So 6 children, and what happened is many years ago when they were still little, their father and I had gone out for dinner, and we called it date night. It was a Friday night dinner. We went out. We almost had a horrific accident. So nothing happened to us, thank God. But at that point, I thought, what would happen if we had been in that accident? Would we have made it alive? Would we have made it home? What would have happened? The kids, who would have told them, the babysitter, how she would have dealt with it? We never discussed it. We never put any planning in place, any documents. So we have now what is called, and that was what got me to make sure that families are protected, because I did the same thing. It's called a Kids Protection Plan. And what we do is that we have families named guardians, long-term and short-term, so that kids never end up in the hands of the wrong people. Okay. So anyone that has children should have documents, and not only documents for, in the event of an emergency, but also medical care. If you go out of town and you leave your children, you want to leave the authority for the person that you leave the kids with to be able to get medical attention for them.
Awesome. This is great stuff. Like I said, I'm one of these lay persons that needs to know this thing. Question. This question that we had here during COVID. There's a lot of people talking about advanced care directives.
Yes.
What is that?
Yes. Advanced healthcare directives are the documents, Manny, that you put in place to make sure that the people that you want making the decisions for you are going to be authorized to get medical information, to have a say-so. And a lot of people say, well, my husband, he knows what I would want, and he can step in and just take care of everything. Well, the law does not presume that your husband or wife maybe the right person or the person who has your best interest at heart.
Wow.
And think of why that is. Some people are married legally, but haven't even seen their estranged spouse in many years.
So they never got a divorce, so...
Exactly. So would you want that person to come in and say, pull the plug or do this or do that? Probably not. So, that's why even if you're married, you need to put those documents in place. And I don't know if you remember the story of Terry Chiaibo.
I remember that clearly.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a big one. They were in Florida, right?
Yes, in Florida, in St. Petersburg. And she was a 26-year-old girl, lady, young, beautiful. And she had a cardiac arrest. What happened is that she ended up not recovering from it fully. She was resuscitated, but had brain damage. And no matter how much they tried, they couldn't fully restore her. She was going to remain in that vegetative state. Mm-hmm. So what happened is that her husband, she had actually put in place a document for her husband to be her agent. But it was a form document. And we can talk about that a little bit. A lot of people think, I can do this, and they ask, what is the price? It is not about that. It is about making sure that it addresses, that your documents address exactly what you want and how you want things to happen. So in Terry Chiavo's case, it was a form document. It addressed intubation. It addressed resuscitation, but it also did not address the feeding tube situation.
Wow. She
was not on a respirator, which was, the document was, not complete. Anyway, what ended up happening is that this happened in 1990, and it took until 2005 for finally the court to, and then she was able to be taken off and die. And in that case, Manny, all we would have wanted to know is, what did Terry Chiaibo want?
What she want.
Not what her husband wanted, her parents, the court, the judge,
I see. So can you explain what it is you do exactly? If someone comes to you, what's the process? What does Legacy Trust Counsel do? And
yes.
Elena Tauler, Esquire do?
Yes. So, yes, as you know, Legacy Trust Counsel is one of my law firms and we deal with estate planning. We deal with probate and families and making sure. When I was back in the day, when I was doing a lot of foreclosure defense and we were saving people's homes, what ended up happening is that, yes, the homes were saved for a while, but if something happened in the family, the property was not titled correctly, there was a big dispute, just a lot of things. People kept coming back and with problems that were not addressed. So what we do is we have a process. We send you what we call a homework. It's a family profile. We meet with you after you fill that out. We go through I tell you about what the law says, and you tell me about what your family situation is and what you want. And then we create and strategize. It's a legal strategy. It's not just doing documents or filling in documents, because you can do that on legal, legal Zoom or Rocket Lawyer, whatever. But you never know what you get until you have a problem. So what we do is we put the right documents, the right strategies, more than saying the document, is the right strategy behind you. And we're your attorneys for life. So we welcome all. You can even, if you Google us, you'll see what our clients say about us, because we welcome people to call us. And if there's a problem, a question, even if it's not related to what we did for them, we want them to call us so that we can guide them. And then maybe put them, set them on the right track, refer them or whatever.
And how long have you been doing this?
Well, I've been an attorney. I always say over 20 years, because Manny wants to know my age, but anyway, no, just kidding.
We won't tell him.
Over 20 years, and I've seen a lot of clients come to us and say, "Oh, I wish you would have told me this before." That's why we're here.
So you started, you were an attorney at the age of 15, right?
Yeah, right.
Or 13, right?
Right, Manny.
Right.
So,
Anything, do you have any, is there a free consultation with you, your services? How does that work?
Well, we don't necessarily call it a free consultation because we want you to do your part, that we want you to complete that profile that I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And then I spend the time, which is about 2 hours of my time, just going through, like I said, everything, your facts, your desires, any issues, any problems. And we do that complimentary because you've taken the time to get educated, empowered, and you've taken the time to complete what we call that homework.
Good.
Right?
This is
So
important too.
we reward you with sitting with you and guiding you. And there's no commitment, there's no obligation.
Good. Well, I knew that this was going to be a good conversation. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this with you, because you've always done this webinar once a month.
Yeah.
I wanted to do this with you because I wanted to hear it, and I think people need to know exactly what you have. And people are zoomed over their heads. There's too much zoom here, too much zoom there. So we're bringing to you some formats like this where we can get you the real information. Now try to get the points. I mean, I had them written here. We try to bring the points out that are important to people. Is there anything else that we missed? I know you're looking at your notes.
Yeah, I'm looking at there because, oh my God, there's so much. I mean, I want to briefly just cover a couple of things. I missed telling you about taxes, for example, that people like Prince with a $300 million estate ended up paying about $120 million that he could have, I'm sure he wouldn't have been happy about that if he had known.
There are methods to,
of course,
move that money before anything happens. So
well, it's not moving the money; it is the planning that takes place where when you create the trust and there's asset protection aspects.
That was the word I was looking for. Asset protection. Okay.
And right now on taxes, the estate tax exemption that we call the freebie amount is over $11 million. So a lot of people were not concerned about it because, our estate is less than that. However, that number fluctuates. And now with a new administration in place, I do expect it to change. And so want you to keep that, in your radar. Make sure that you keep an eye on that because many times, including, for example, Aretha Franklin, her family got into a conflict, a probate situation, still ongoing, and half of her millions of dollars, I think over $80 million, has to be paid in taxes because she didn't have estate planning. Then later they found a will, and whether there was a will or not, remember what I said at the beginning? Because I want to recap. Whether you have a will or not, you end up in probate court. The only way to avoid probate court is with a fully funded revocable living trust. And what is a living trust? It is an agreement, like I said. And I did not say this yet, Manny, but I know it's so much information, right? But an agreement where you are wearing the three hats. You're the trustee because you administer everything just like you do now. So when your bank account is open, it's retitled to your trust, you go there, you take money, you change it, you close it, you open it, just like you do now. But you're also the trustor because you're always going to be the trustor because you're the one that puts in there all the bunch of money you were talking about before. Mm-hmm. You're the one that opens it and puts it in there. So you're the trustor, you're the trustee, and you're the beneficiary because it's yours. So while you're alive, you're going to manage, you and your spouse, whatever. You're going to manage this trust. But when you're no longer here, then you're going to indicate who that successor trustee is going to be. And according to your wishes, he or she is going to administer the assets. And remember your beneficiaries. Remember asset protection for them. Because if they receive it outright at 18, 20, 25, a spouse or ex-spouse can come in. He can be subject to a lawsuit and that money be lost. Who would want that? So your beneficiaries can be protected also. And this is huge for us parents that want to make sure that our kids, receive the assets with airtight asset protection.
This is so much information that I am so glad you did. Now, that's one of the things you said that I really enjoyed was that you're the attorney for life. It's not just one consultation and that's it. So that's very, very important. I think we're
well. I wanna see if anybody
any
to
questions.
ask our
any questions up there?
ladies here.
No?
If anybody has asked a question.
Well, like I said, it's a lot of information. A lot of information that we've covered, but if you go to Legacy Trust Council,
yes, there are a couple. Yes,
Oh,
there are
okay.
a couple of questions that came in, and one of them is, what about long-term care? Do we do planning for that? And the answer is yes. Long-term care is such a important, subject right now. And what happens, Manny, is that a lot of people think that the government somehow is going to take care of them if they should need to be put in a assisted living facility, or if they should need even temporary help for someone to come in and assist with them. So when our parents and grandparents get older and they need that help, well, the government doesn't automatically cover that unless you're truly indigent. But if you have any assets at all, there are ways that we can protect that now, right, so that your family doesn't lose the assets and you get the government benefits that you need. So this is one of the things that if you have a question like that, put your email or say, yes, send me information, and we will follow up with you. So just make sure. I think Raquel was going to say something.
Yeah, that Laura asked a question. She asks, do you have to have an attorney to do estate planning documents? Who keeps these documents?
Repeat the question
that's
so
a
we
really
make sure
good...
we heard it. Do you have to have an attorney to?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have
Okay.
to have an attorney to do estate planning documents, and who keeps the documents?
Okay, that's a really good question. And this brings me back to our process. I'm going to say it really quickly. Our process is that when you come in with those documents, we sit with you for those 2 hours and it's complimentary, and you decide to move forward. It is like a working meeting, really, because right then and there you already have the advice. We help you just put something in place and get going. Now, normally it takes about 4 weeks after that, 4 to 6 weeks, and we call you back and you come back and sign those documents. We keep copies, but you keep the originals. We give you a binder. It is actually a very good looking binder that it's full of documents.
Knowing you, everything you do is a very nice looking binder, but it's a box and
but remember what I said before. Please remember that documents without the actions, without the review, without the guidance, they're just documents. And you shouldn't even spend $100 on documents that are not going to work, because it's like, why even spend $100? So, but the legal strategy behind the planning, yes, you do need an attorney. This is legal advice. In fact, everything we talked about here today is for information purpose. And I should do a disclaimer that it is not legal advice, because once we have a relationship, you and I, as an attorney-client relationship, which is confidential and which is private, but what we do in that meeting is strategize. What do you want, and what does the law say, and can you do it? So do not please put any documents in place that are legal documents that you just get off, a form document, because I have seen so many problems with that.
Wow, this is so much great information.
So thank you for that. That's a great question.
Good question.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions? No? All right, we are good. One of the things I want to say personally is Elena's been a member of the Doral Chamber of Commerce for quite a few years. When you're doing business with anybody, whether it's an attorney or a CPA or a plumber, it doesn't matter. It's the person behind the company. And I can personally vouch for who Elena is. This is really an amazing person who is caring, is out there for the community. If you're in Doral, she's been a Doral resident for quite a few years. She has supported various organizations in the city. You have to look for the person in the organizations. We have some amazing members, and I do want to say, Elena, you're one of those.
Oh, thank you.
Look for that. Whenever you're doing business with anybody, when you're networking, when you're trying to find someone to help you with situations, especially situations like this, you look for the right person, and I really believe you're the right person for this. So I am so glad. Elena Tauler, the website is legacytrustcouncil.com. It'll be on the bottom of the page there. Remember, you have to complete the form. You have contact information's on that page. I am grateful that we did. I'm very happy that we did this. I know we were both nervous. Because I've been on. I still get nervous.
Yeah.
So you were saying about getting nervous about being on. I still get nervous.
Well, and it's not perfect, because we're here and we're like, we
I
do
said
it
it's
with
a
a lot of.
conversation. You have to have a conversation. This is
Sure.
what it is. You and I do the same thing. Is how can I help?
This is my new motto right here. Progress,
not perfection. I love
progress,
that.
not perfection. Because many times I wanted to do this because I have so many Facebook friends and people that I have known throughout the years. But when you're trying to make things perfect, don't just do it. And I want to encourage you also, if you have any information, just go ahead and do it. You can do it too. So thank
Gary,
you, Manny. I couldn't have done it without you.
Remember what I told you? Gary Vaynerchuk, he says, just hit the record button and record. Don't try to make it perfect. Get out there, market yourself. Video is it. Facebook Live, Instagram Live, LinkedIn Live, YouTube Live. Look for all these channels. As a chamber, we're going to bring I'm going to bring you back. We're going to discuss some other important issues, legal issues, in more detail. Thank you so much. Thank you, Elena.
Thank you, Manny.
Gabby, Raquel, our producers in the back here, the entire community. DoralChamber.org if you're interested in getting more information. LegacyTrustCouncil.com. It's on the bottom of the banner. Thank you so very much. I'm so glad we did
Thank you.
this.
And for those of you on Zoom, please look at the link that one of our team members, Kelsey, has dropped in there so that you can follow up and request any information. Or if you want to go and schedule an appointment, the 15-minute, even a question, even anything that we covered today, LegacyLawLive.com. And we also have Calendly. What is it, Raquel? Calendly, Ask Elena. Yeah, Calendly, Ask Elena.
I'll make sure I put that link on our site.
But if not, you can just call us. 305-514-0608. Thank you. Have a great afternoon.
Been Elena Tauler, Manny Sarmiento. Thank you
Manny.
so much. God bless you all. Have an amazing day and an amazing week.